But for generally speaking, when you go to, especially Chinese food in America, it's horrible. Oh my God, it's nothing like the food back home. Because I've been so busy preparing for the show, so I took all the leftovers home. So I had Chinese American food was like an orangey, sweet and sour sauce. Looks so
red colored.
Yeah, and it's not very it's not real Chinese food. But I had it for 5 days. I was born in China, but I left China many years ago when I was very young. I lived in Europe, but I spent most of my life in California. I've been in San Francisco for more than 20 years. Yeah. So I wasn't an artist till I came to California. So I'm a stencil artist, and I also do some street art. And I do other mediums too, such as photography. And the US changed me. I always had a talent in me, but I remember when I was maybe 7 years old at the art class, and we were taught to how to draw teapots, not teapots, regular stainless steel pots. But again, I was the first one who finished the work, so I felt, oh, I have so much time in my hands, so why don't I decorate the pot? So I added the peacock feather to the pot, and secretly I was very happy because I knew I would get A+, because it's such a pretty pot. But I failed because the teacher said that doesn't look like a pot. So it wasn't until I came to California and with all the people around me telling me, you have the talent, you have to do what you're born for, So you got to do this. You have to be yourself. So since then, but that was like more than 20 years ago, and I started doing art. Yeah. It was very interesting what happened to me, but it was meant to be. It really set me free from so many things, social expectations and everything, and it took me several years to unwind myself, to return myself into a blank sheet of paper and then draw whatever on it. And that happens when I came to this country. And nobody told me what's right, what's wrong. They only encouraged me to do what's the best for you. And for the very first time in my life, I said to myself, is that possible? That is possible. People who were born here, they just took it for granted. But for people like us, it was wow. I can actually be who I am, who I want to be. And first of all, who am I? That is the number one question. It took me 3 years to find out what I really like to do, and it's totally acceptable. People here don't judge you. And and then my life just took off in that way. Totally free, creative, artistic, and just totally be myself. I love it. Don't listen to them. Just do what you love to do. Fulfill your responsibilities. Of course, you live in this world. There's expectations of you, but at the same time, as long as your happiness is not built on other people's unhappiness, then you're good to go. You don't need to answer to anybody. Just do what makes you happy, and then you will turn into a very healthy human being, and everything just turns into like really positive, and it attracts more people that makes them happy too. So that's my advice. I know I heard so many people here, especially this part of the world, they always tell you you can't do it. There's nothing you can't do. But in reality, there are a lot of things. For example, I've always been a broke artist. Just doesn't have don't have enough money to do this and that. But if you keep on doing what you like to do, eventually you will find a path that's best for you. And you have to remind yourself, everybody's standard for being successful is different. For somebody is making, $500,000 a year. For somebody is to own a house on a beach. And for somebody like me is to be able to do what I like to do, and to be able to pay bills, which is difficult sometimes, to be honest with you as an artist. But I would not trade my life for some 9-to-5 jobs, and just sitting miserable in the office, dealing with office politics. That's not my life. But I am not trying to judge people who do that, because that works for them, but just does not work for me. I didn't start to do art until much later in life, even though as a very young kid, I was just different from my cousins, from other people. I always wanted to be creative, but I remember when I was 21 years old, and people already started telling me, you have to do art, you have to go to art school. And guess what I said to them? It was so stupid. I said, I'm 21 years old. I'm already too old for that. 21 years old. Now I think even if you're 80 years old, it's never too late to do anything. He said, if I had known you want to be an artist today, I would never have forced you to go to college or do, follow other people's paths. I would have sent you to art school. And I said, you know what, Dad, I thank you for not sending me to art school, because I don't want to be one of the cookie cutter artists. And now I have traveled all around the world. I made my own livings, and I failed so many times. So that really affected the way I do art. So I appreciate that I went to a different route. So sometimes when I was younger, I regretted I didn't start doing art earlier. But again, you never know. Right now, I actually appreciate that I didn't do art too early. I shouldn't say that. Actually, I appreciate I didn't go to art school at a very young age when I was in China, because the kind of art you would be like a little bonsai tree. You are so limited to your roots are bounded, in this little container. Before I came to the United States, I already lived in Europe for a few years. It's just how America is so different from what we learned back home, and how, now I spend more than half of my life in the US than anywhere else. It is so, in a way, it's so free here. People don't really know, because they're born to breathe that free air, and we have to really struggle and find our paths so that we can be here at much later time in life, to have something that you were born with, So people here are very nice and very encouraging. I think one of the culture shock is the food here is terrible.
Oh, really?
So you can see some of my food elements in my art, and that's the other thing I forgot to mention is I developed my sense of humor since I lived here. I guess my biggest culture shock was when I went to Europe the first time. That was big. That was like very. I could make a movie out of that. But by the time I came here, I already lived overseas a little bit, so it's not much big of a shock to me. Oh, I've been to many, many countries. I love traveling, especially traveling alone, because I like to meet total random strangers on the train, on a hiking path somewhere. That's the other thing that changed me since I came here is I used to be very shy, and I'm not very social. But now I'm very, very open and very, I love talking to people. I will approach people, ask them questions, and we'll have random discussions on philosophy, arts, religion, or politics, whatever it is. I'm curious about people, and I travel to many countries in Europe, South America, and the US. I love road trips, so I do a lot of road trips. And it really made me a lot wiser just by going out of my comfort zone, just see different parts of the world, learn about the culture. the information was kind of limited back in China. And that's why it was good to leave the country and go to the open free world and see, oh, there's so many things I didn't know about, and or what I heard, this and that was either, not complete or totally fake or wrong. It's unlimited source of topic. It's every day there's something new in the news, and I can make fun and make art out of that. It's never ending. It's like a stream that comes out, constantly. Coming from a different culture who lived in many countries, I can totally look at politics from very different angles, and I can understand why things happen this way. And I try to use art as a form to tell people that not only politics but life in general can be very complicated. It's not just black and white, good and bad, evil and nice. It's a lot of times somewhere in between. And I try to use humor to tell people, to make fun of things. And politics is nice things about the country over here. You can make fun about anything, and nobody would really be that offended. And especially politicians, they're so thick-skinned. They're up there, and you can say whatever you want about them. They're still smiling, yeah, please vote for me, So let alone doing art about them, right? So, and maybe I can sell that too and make money out of that, and that would be even better. Controversial sometimes if you do political art, and also make people think, because it's very related to the lives, right? You see something on TV or on social media, and it makes you think. And then you see that art is related to what you just heard last night on TV, and you start thinking, what is the artist trying to say, or she's trying to present me another angle of this issue. So yeah, and I like to play with people's minds sometimes. You don't have to make your art that dark, all the time, because I feel our life is filled with bitterness, all the social media, all the fights between the tribalism and all that. Nobody wants to listen to anybody. So what's the best way to strike the conversation, especially the people who never agree with you, who just hates you, whatever? Is either having a meal together, they sit down and have a meal together, or something funny. Something that makes you laugh first, and then maybe they're not object to having a conversation with you. I think our city, our society is filled with seriousness. Not that we don't have serious problems in the society, but when you leave no room or even crack for little lightheartedness, a funny thing, or even landscape, or a beautiful butterfly or something like that. It's choking me, I feel like our society needs to be relaxed a little bit more. Not that we will forget about our social problems, but come on, guys, let's just have some fun sometimes. It's legal to have fun. It's good for us. So let's just be nice to each other and have some fun art. I never had Mexican food before I left China or Europe. I had a lot of nice European food when I was living in Europe. But America is not, to me, it's not even a country. America is like an experiment of everything. Ideology, cuisine, arts, people from all over the world come here to put a little bit ingredients of themselves into the society and make this melting pot very special. And then, of course, you have very good fancy food here, which I'm sure is very nice, but I don't have money to eat that all the time.
Let me try something really quick. Can you give me 1 out of 10 your experience in this kind of food in America? If I say Chinese food, 1 out of 10.
I would say maybe 5.
Mexican food.
7.
Italian.
8.
Indian food.
Indian food, that's interesting. I loved Indian food before I went to India. So I can only eat street food, which was not very nice. So Yeah, I think I like the Indian food in America more than the Indian food in India.
Have you had sushi in America?
Yeah, depends on where you go. There are very good ones and there are really mediocre ones. I have been an artist for some time, for quite a few years, but I didn't start doing street art until the beginning of, not beginning, but in the middle of the pandemic. Because in San Francisco, there's a lot of business just went out of business and everything was boarded up with broken windows. And there's a lot of places that have very terrible graffiti, vandalism. For street artists, a lot of times the art is about the artists themselves. Their creation, the ideas, and the design, the colors. And for me, a lot of time is using my skill to tell the story of that community, specific community, or a specific location. For example, at this corner, who used to live here, and he contributed so much to the culture, or like the inventor of certain things, or like could be like a political event. I want to put it on the street, and I like to surprise people because street art is very different from what you see in the gallery, because it's more like a church setting. It's very quiet, it's very clean, kind of distant. Street art is totally unexpected. You walk by, you see something art, or if you're on the bus, if you see my art, some people would just, the next day, because they could take the same bus, they wanted to get off the bus and see what's this thing I just saw, from the bus. Wait a minute, you only had 2 seconds, And I love it that I catch people by surprise. And because the stuff I do is very relevant to people's life, either because of community or because what's happening in the world nowadays, it strikes conversation. And I love it that people will not only email me or message me on social media what they like about my art. Some people actually interact with me by putting their own art on my art, so they will become one piece. So we start conversation. I just love it because street art is not everybody could have money to go to museum, $25 a ticket. You put art on the street on the way to work, on the way home, and that just make them happy. And why not? But do it in a responsible way. I don't like to trash people's windows, make it. That's terrible. And what's funny is that you don't see a lot of Asian or Chinese street artists, let alone female artists, and I like to put that on the map. Some people over here, they're so well traveled and they know so much, but there's also a lot of other people who never even left the town, and so it's really hard to explain things to people that they have no experience with. It's out of their experience. Maybe also try to learn more about life. What is like to be an immigrant? What is like to really live in that kind of condition? And because the world is very complicated. I don't, maybe because I'm getting older, I don't believe a revolution really can solve all the problems instantly. It's like a marriage. It's all about being it's compromise. You learn about what I like and what you like, and it's not like either or. I heard a friend said once that in America it's all about democracy. So we vote, whoever got the most votes got the final say, and then you all have to agree with whatever all the measures, all the laws I put out because I won the election or whatever. And I don't really think that's democracy. I think democracy is really it's like a marriage again. It's yes, I win an election and I have more power, but I want to make something that's working for everybody. So there has to be compromise of some sort. And young people have to go out and experience life more, not just around here and try to talk to people that are different from you, different race, different culture. It's one thing that you want to do good, and it's the other thing that you see things from different angles, and then you understand that the things you want to do, as much as how nice the purpose is, it cannot really be done until you really understand the hardship and difficulties of getting there. Sometimes it's not just, that's the other thing I found out American culture is all about going forward, fight, go, like this. But in reality, the Chinese culture or Asian culture, culture from the other world is, instead of going full force forward, sometimes you have to go back a little bit, pause, and then go forward. You have to look around, be aware of your surroundings. It's not all about fight and kill and winning. It's all about making everybody get something out. It has to be win-win. In that way, our society, we're not breaking in half, because right now it's on the edge of really collapsing because nobody talks to anybody. It's all either like 1 minute into conversation is like, get out of my face, like you're not my kind, or you're this and you're that. Of course, there's always terrible people, on the extreme, left or right, or rich, extremely rich, and this and that. But listen to the normal people, the majority people. They just want to have peaceful, nice life, Maybe I shouldn't be too extreme. Maybe I should just start with, hey, do you want to have dinner with us? Let's talk, let's, instead of fighting, let's just have a meal together. You don't have to do art, but you have to find something that makes you happy. And it's not just by listening to other people, but trying different kinds of things. When you are young, make all the mistakes, not fatal mistakes, but make as much mistakes as they can when you're young, so that you will have so much time later on in life being wise. So back to your question, my regrets. If I could say, my regrets would be. When I was young, I didn't experience more. I was so, I didn't travel, I didn't do anything. I wish I was one of those terrible naughty boys in the class, just and do all the things that teacher tells you that it's illegal to do, and you're not supposed to. You're not a good boy if you do this. You're not a good girl if you do this. If I could tell my younger self right now, if I could, I would have told myself to quit school right now. I'm talking about the school I went to. I'm not talking to the kids over here. The kind of place I was, the position I was back then was so miserable. I was totally wasting my time. I would tell myself, quit the school, even if you don't have any money in your pocket, go out and experience life. Do whatever, traveling, go to village, go to mountains, do art, do whatever, and be as free as you can.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're doing pretty good. I feel like most people can't say they moved country residences when they were 20. So I'm already 26, you're making me feel bad.
I actually left home when I was 18. And, it was a very interesting journey, yeah. So I left home when I was young. But I spent my whole life looking for a home. But then I found out home is actually where the heart is. So.
Classic.